Honourable Member for Calgary Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm pleased that the government has allowed this reduced version of democracy to continue in these difficult times. Many of my constituents would believe that our work here is fundamental, even in these times, to ensure our democratic traditions of responsible government and accountability to this House are upheld. As with so many matters, much water has passed under the bridge in these past months, particularly respecting Canadian energy and pipeline infrastructure. Keystone XL was cancelled with the stroke of a new U.S. President's pen, with barely a shrug of the shoulders from Canada's Prime Minister. Disappointed is the official response from the Prime Minister's office. Disappointed represents the weakest response available from a multiple-choice list and barely registers in comparison to the shock and anger felt throughout Canada's resource industry. Keystone XL was a piece of vital energy infrastructure that would have linked a world-class resource with a market that needs it and values it highly. Its sudden cancellation merits more than a shrug of the shoulders and a desire to just move on. We know the government's focus by where it spends its time and its efforts. Evidently, not on world-leading net zero infrastructure that would have reduced the environmental footprint of the final product by 20%. So, not on real environmental outcomes. Not on going to bat for infrastructure in which 5 First Nations held an equity stake. So, not on Indigenous reconciliation. Not for the thousands of workers dismissed from their jobs. So, not for workers. And not for the economic benefits built into this world-class Canadian project, projected to be assessed $30 billion of taxes paid to government over its life. So not for the Canadian services and benefits, the social safety net, the health care, all the government services that we enjoy. This is a government unconcerned about the ability to provide care for Canadians in the next several years. Call it what it is, absolute failure on energy in every area that matters to Canadians. Environmental advancement, fail. Indigenous reconciliation, fail. Canadian jobs, fail. Economic benefits, fail. Continued ability to deliver government services, fail. I hear the protests of the Minister of Natural Resources about how hard he tried, and I have to remind him here that this trying and failing is becoming repetitive with his cabinet colleagues. His cheerleading is falling on deaf ears with his leadership, who are all saying, once again, just like on Tech Frontiers withdrawal, let's move on. Enbridge Line 5. I've heard the Minister, the Prime Minister, and their proxies neglect to respond to the real issue facing the potential closure of Line 5. Supplying 540,000 barrels of oil per day to refineries in Ontario and Quebec, this is an essential part of our national infrastructure since 1953. It's a link between Canada and the United States that has provided much to our shared prosperity. And its importance was recognized by the signing of the Transit Pipelines Treaty in 1977, supported at that time by Senator Joe Biden. There is a deadline to respond to this threat of closure from the Governor of Michigan.
Secretary.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. J'aimerais remercier le député de Calgary Centre pour...
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the member for this opportunity to discuss this important matter. First, I would like to remind the House that our government has always supported Canada's energy sector and will continue to do so, in addition to supporting workers in the sector as well as communities that benefit from it. We prioritize occupational health and safety as well as the health of the environment in all parts of the energy sector, all while protecting Indigenous rights and working towards reconciliation. It's important to be clear on this. Now, in the current context, oil prices are dropping. In the current context, the government has taken many measures. For instance, in the spring, we announced many measures in succession, including the Business Credit Program, which gives Albertan businesses and all Canadian businesses liquidity if they qualify. We also implemented the Canadian Emergency Wage Subsidy to help all businesses affected by COVID-19 to rehire their employees or keep them on the payroll to prevent job losses. The government has also spent $750 million for an emission reduction fund, as well as an investment of $1.7 million to clean up orphan and abandoned wells. 1.7 billion, pardon. We have also announced investment for the offshore industry in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Comprehensive set of supports. All of this, Madam Speaker, is in addition to our government's proven track record of approval of and support for major oil and gas projects, from TMX to LNG Canada to the Nova Gas expansion and Line 3 extension, which we know will create thousands of jobs and drive billions in investments, and which complement our initiatives to reach our Paris climate commitments. Madam Speaker, we also vigorously supported the KXL project and at the highest levels. So like our government of Alberta partners with whom we worked closely, we are disappointed in the President's decision. We have been clear that we'll help the affected Canadian workers. However, Madam Speaker, we must also focus our relationship with Canada's #1 energy customer and on the areas of mutual Canada-U.S. interest, like firm climate action, enhanced North American energy security, and cooperation to rebuild our economies. Madam Speaker, Canada's energy sector will be a big part of the North American recovery. It's a source of well-paying, good jobs in Canada. And our government will continue to stand with the sector and the thousands of hardworking Canadians and employees. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Honourable member for Calgary Centre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my colleague for the response. And I've heard that response several times about how much this government has done for the energy industry over the pandemic period and the price war we received from our other oil suppliers around the world. Nevertheless, going forward, we keep failing in all these energy files. We talk about Keystone XL. We talk about Tech Frontier. We're talking now about Enbridge Line 5, and we're failing on delivering on success on every one of these files. Looking back and saying, well, we'll take care of the workers that are bleeding off through this industry because of the inaction from this government is not a response. We need to build this country going forward, including with world-leading infrastructure. However, with Line 5, we've got to make sure world-leading infrastructure is not destroyed in the process. Undoing that piece of infrastructure, like the governor of Michigan is proposing to do at this point in time, will end what has been a 60-year benefit to both our nations as far as providing prosperity. So this government needs to elevate the urgency of this file now.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The record is clear and self-evident. We are approving major projects and providing support to the oil and gas sector when and where it's needed. Nous avons été et nous resterons présents.
We have supported and will continue to support the energy sector during these difficult times,
to ensure that good and sustainable projects go forward with the full confidence of Canadians. Notre gouvernement demeure convaincu.
Our government strongly believes that we can move forward and have economic prosperity, all while ensuring that we keep our climate commitments so that for a low-carbon